Welcome to Entrepreneur Conference Live Preview. My name is JB Bolvadin, co-founder of Entrepreneur Conference.
And my name is Ryan Riddle, and today we're here to speak with someone titled the best at what he does from the best at what they do, Tim Grover.
The master of winning. Tim, thank you so much for being with us.
It's an honor to be with you guys. Appreciate you guys.
So Tim, I want to just share a personal story with you really quick. In 2017, you spoke at Grant Cardone's first Growth Con. And when I went over there, that was the first time I ever heard of you. And for me to get over there, I didn't have the money. I put everything on a credit card. Me and my wife just got married. Some things weren't going right. We were going down to the hotel cafe and sharing a sandwich. That's how little we had. And so when I was there and you came up on stage and started speaking, you woke me up. I'm not even joking. And then from then on, I know you wrote Winning recently. We definitely want to talk about that. But Relentless was a system that I really had a foundation on. And I just want to thank you because at that moment, I started to realize what it really takes and the estimation of effort required to get a result. And you have no idea what that 60 minutes on stage did for me in my life. And 5 years later, for me and Ryan to be able to have you as a guest at our own conference, it's really incredible. So thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. So what I get out of it, you and your wife are no longer sharing sandwiches. You guys can have your own separate meals, right?
That's right, yeah. I actually built the largest real estate training company on the East Coast, and we're pretty big in the space that we're in. And what I do is I actually help other agents win in their careers. And Ryan, who's next to me at a very young age, by 27, built one of the largest mortgage banking teams in the East Coast as well. So it's something where what you talk about in Relentless and what we're going to talk about briefly in Winning, it's definitely something that I realized in there, the amount of effort that needs to be done, it's been life-changing for sure.
Yeah, it's people. It's interesting how everyone relies on others, and they have all this information out there, but it just takes that one message to resonate with a person. And once you have that one message, it's just like all of a sudden it just goes. And that's why like a conference like what you're doing is important, because when you have all the different speakers, not everybody resonates with a message that one speaker may give, and then they may resonate completely with somebody else. And so there's no way you can come to this event and not take something out of it. If you do, you're not paying attention at all.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
So Tim, that kind of leads us into one of the questions I had. So for everybody who doesn't know who you are and how you got to where you are, how does someone get to be able to coach some of the best at what they do in their fields?
You go in, you understand what you want to do, and you find out a way to go do it. I mean, when I went to college, I was like, all right, what do you want to do? Everyone wanted me to go to medical school. I didn't want to go to medical school, even though I did get in. And I said I wanted to train professional athletes. And they were like, what does that even mean? Because, we're talking about way back in the 80s. And the only people that were training professional athletes back then were either if you went to the Olympics or you were a boxer. So I basically created an industry, but I knew what I wanted to do. I was like, this is what I want to do. So I put all my education into place, and I said, this is going to be the end result. Did it work out right away? No. I ended up graduating with a master's degree. I played college basketball, and I took a job at a local health club, making $3.35 an hour, because that's what the minimum wage was.
Wow.
That's what it was back then. So, but it ended up being one of the best experiences I had, because I had all this knowledge up here, but I didn't know how to actually put it to use. I didn't have the practical application with it. I had read all these books, I studied everything. I could look at the human body, I could see movement, I could see different things, and I said, okay, this is what's going on. But I didn't have the chance to be able to take it and apply it to people. So I went over there after a 6 month, remember I'm there with a master's degree, after 6 month probation period, they finally started allowing me to train individuals. And I was training I was training everybody. I was training, you know, housewives. I was training kids. I was training business people. No professional athletes during that time. But I was like, all right, if I can make a name for myself with these individuals, so consistent results over and over again, the word will start to spread. So I built quite a bit of a reputation of being the trainer that, you know, didn't do a whole lot of talking, but really ended up getting results. And then I saw a little article in the newspaper that said how Michael Jordan was tired of taking the physical abuse from the Detroit Pistons. I'm like, all right. So I said, you know what? Back then, remember, no emails, no cell phones, no any of this. So what do? You write letters. So I literally wrote 14 letters to the Chicago Bulls organization. There's 15 players on the team. The one person I did not write a letter to was Michael Jordan. I was like, you know what? He's already going to have somebody. They're never going to allow me to work with him. But if I can show results on another player, maybe it's down the line somewhere, I can pique his interest. You go in, you mail the letters, you know, and they show up at the practice facility, and they get thrown in with the fan mail, and the fan mail gets thrown into different lockers. And the funny thing was, he actually saw this letter in somebody else's locker and pulled it out and told the team physician at that time to say, hey, find out what this guy's about. So here's my thinking was, all right, the best of the best is looking to get better. You have other athletes that would need my service, what I thought would need my services more, and then take and showed no interest, yet you already had the individual who was the best, had no clue of me, had no idea who I was, said, you know what, this interests me. Go find out what this individual is about. So after 3 months later, going through different tests and, you know, practical exams and all the other stuff, still not knowing who the Bulls were testing me for, they gave me an address and said, hey, here's the address, we want you to go meet the client. So I show up at the client's house, not knowing it's his house. I look at the address. This was before the, you know, the big gated house with the jump man on it. I ring the doorbell, no one answers. Ring the doorbell twice, no one answers. Ring it a third, someone comes to the door. It's Michael Jordan.
What was your feeling at that point when you realized?
Well, you know, I'm not a starstruck person.
Yeah.
So I'm not a starstruck person. So what happens is it's one of those things. You either freeze or you get the job done. Open up the door, introduce myself. This is who I am. Invited me in the house, sat down. He had already talked to a few different people. I told him what my methodology was. You know, I let him talk. I said, well, what do you want? He goes, you know, I want to get bigger. I want to get stronger. I want to be able to do these different things. And I was like, well, what do you want to do? He goes, you know, I want to be more athletic. I want to do this. I want to be able to take contact. And I said, well, everything you've been told is not the way I would do it. I would say, Michael, you know, you have different injuries that constantly slow you down. I mean, you know, you have issues with your groin, you have issues with your ankles, you have issues with your hamstrings. I said, if we just address those things, I said, you're already a better athlete. You're already a stronger athlete. You're already more explosive athlete. So I said, let's address those, and then we'll worry about the weight. And he goes, well, you know, that sounds great, but you know, he goes, I definitely want to bulk up. I was like, well, you don't really want to bulk up too much. I said, you want to bulk up a little bit because only you can decide what weight is best for you. Nobody else can tell you that. So if you go from your starting weight and all of a sudden you go 20 pounds heavier, your body's not going to move the same. And he goes, no one's ever explained it to me this way. I said, well, this is the way I would approach the program. And he goes, well, this doesn't sound right. I said, it doesn't get any righter. And he goes, I'll give you 30 days. And 30 days turned into 15 years. It's preparing for that opportunity. Everyone, I always say this, everyone gets an opportunity. Everyone gets an opportunity in life. and whether you'll be able to seize that opportunity, will you able to be recognized that opportunity. And that's what we talk about in the book, winning. You know, winning is gonna pay attention to you. Are you just gonna know? Do you have enough knowledge, enough understanding, enough self-awareness of yourself to see that, hey, winning's paying attention to you, and these are the things that you need to do in order to get those wins. You know, it's just like what you said earlier, JB, about sitting in that conference, and all of a sudden, you know, a spark or something hits you. Say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I thought I was working hard. I thought I was doing the right things, but you know what? I was just kidding. I was just kidding myself.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it's funny because as we transition to winning, as I listen to winning, because I feel like if you look it up in the dictionary, winning, it should literally just have your book after that, because you literally go through step by step what winning is really, because there's a lot of misunderstandings on what that actually is. Once again, I realized, wow, I gotta step it up, and there was something that you mentioned in winning that I wanted to ask you, because I remember when I listened to it, I was in the car, and I even got emotional. You mentioned a time when you were on the road a lot, because MJ's busy schedule and all your other clients, and your daughter came up to you and said, "Daddy, why do you travel so much?" And you said it was to provide and put food on the table, and she said to you, "If I eat less, will you stay home?" And that's something that I think people don't understand, the sacrifices of what that takes. What would you say to someone who's really on the go, not seeing their family as much, paying that price to win? How do you actually counter that? How do you stay focused into the game? And then when is there the right time to say, okay, let me make sure my family gets that attention too? How do you balance that act, if that's possible?
You know what? You have to decide on what the balance is. Everybody looks for somebody else to tell them what the balance is. And I always say, you know, you don't find balance, you create it. And how you create it is different for yourself. It's different for me. It's different for everybody. All right. You know, listen, the way I did things, it worked for me. It worked for me, and it did eventually work for my daughter, work for my family. But those are decisions, tough decisions that you have to make at those moments. And the key to all this stuff is that, are you just winning for yourself, or when you win and you tell your daughter, hey, listen, I still have to travel, I still have to do things, is the family going to be part of those wins? Are you just winning for yourself, or are you winning for everyone? Oh. And if you constantly continue to produce those results over and over again, and everybody gets to see those wins and everybody gets to be a part of them, then they understand the sacrifice. They understand all that stuff. And the way you balance all these things out is like, listen, when you're at work, you're at work. When you're with your family, you're with your family. When you're with your kids, you're with your kids. You can't be in those three. You can't try to balance all those things at once. You adjust how that scale is going to go up and down. And whether, you know, today it's work, and then tomorrow it's work. Then maybe on Thursday it's going to weigh a little differently with family, and on the weekends it's going to weigh a little differently on you know, with the children. Whatever it may be, but that doesn't mean every day it's gonna be like that. You have to find somebody. I always say this, all right? Find somebody who will be selfish for you. If you find that partner, that significant other, that will be selfish for you, meaning they're the ones that understand what you're doing. They will tell the other individuals that are trying to distract you from your goals and your achievements and what you want out of life. They'll keep those people away from you and say, hey, listen, that's how we win together. And if you tell somebody, hey, listen, I need 3 months, and they give you those 3 months, you better produce results in those 3 months. If you produce absolutely nothing, and then you ask for another 3 months, and then continue to ask for another 3 months, it'll be like, hey, I don't know if I'm really down with that.
Yeah.
So when you ask somebody, say, hey, I need you to let me do what I need to do for this amount of time, that amount of time better be so focused that you produce that end result that everybody wins. Is it an easy decision? Absolutely not. But it's funny, once people become successful, they always talk about, oh, I would never sacrifice time with my family. I would never sacrifice time away from my kids and all that other stuff. I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about what you did to get to now.
Yeah.
And I always say this. I say things that other people won't say. Well, because it's the truth. We've all experienced it. You can't tell me, I'm sitting here talking to you gentlemen right now, that there hasn't been a point in your life where you had to make this tough decision, saying, you know what, I can't make this event, or you forget a birthday, or you forget an anniversary, you forget you forget a day. We've all done it. Everybody that's grinding to sculpt their medal, trophy, of whatever winning looks like to them, if you're ultra focused, you do miss out on some of those events. You do forget those things. Everybody does. And the ones that don't, even if they didn't tell you they didn't forget it, they weren't there in the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. So at this conference and watching this, there's going to be a lot of young professionals, right? And you talk about friends and allies, but when you're on that grind on your way up, there's a lot of your friends at that time that don't grow with you, and sometimes you grow out of them. And then you get to you're in the midst of your profession, you're trying to hit that peak, and now you have your friends and your allies. So can you talk about what would you say to people on their way up about outgrowing people, and maybe some people that just don't have the same end goal as you, and then once you get there, how you have to separate those friends and allies?
Hey, listen, I can sum that up very easily. When I started working for Michael, you know what he told me?
What do you say?
You better keep up.
It's like on the way to the airport.
You better keep up. That, in the book we talk about it on the airport, but he was talking about
in life,
everything in life. He goes, I'm going to different places. I'm going to a new height where, an athlete has never been before. And for people that can't keep up, you're gonna be left behind. Now, you can still be quote unquote a friend, but are you going to be as close of a friend or close of an ally? No, there is going to be separation. Excellence is lonely. It is. All right. It separates you from your family. It separates you from your friends. It separates you from, your significant other. There's times where it does separate you. Now remember, they've had the same opportunity. If they're friends, they've had the same opportunities as you have, maybe in a different field, maybe not in the same field. All right. What did they continue to do to get better and better and better? All right. If you're moving towards, whatever your goals are, whatever your greatness is, whatever your wins are, they should be doing the same things. And if they were truly your friends, and the way they become an ally is they push you, they continue to pull you, they continue to say, hey, listen, keep doing what you're doing, because I'm doing this over here. It's the ones that, the quote unquote friends, that want to be your friends because they want to be part of your success. They want you to do all the hard work. They want you to do all the sacrifices. They want you to make all the hard decisions, and then they want you to pick up the check later on. It doesn't work like that. At some point, everybody's got to be able to pick up their own check.
Yeah, 100% true, and very well said. The biggest question that I always had, and I know you've discussed it, but maybe a little bit more in depth. Michael learned a lot from you, and I'm sure you learned a lot from him. What were some of the biggest takeaways that made you better at what you do from being with Michael?
Just watching him, how the attention to detail that he had in everything he did, and also how he held himself accountable, how he held the other teammates accountable. And he was the same person all the time. The people that got a chance to see The Last Dance, that was Michael Jordan. That was him. There's too many times we switch our personalities, we switch who we are to appease the people around us.
Yeah.
Well, people, one thing people always say about me, he said, Tim, we have one problem with you. And I always say, what's that? They say, you always tell the truth. I always tell the truth. All right. And that was the one thing Michael and I, we always tell the truth. We always held each other accountable. We always told the truth to each other. And, you know, I said this in the book, is some people only have accountability to their teammates or themselves or their family. You know, he was like, I have accountability to the organization, to my family, to my kids, to all the people that paid to watch me play, all the people that gave up something so valuable, their time to sit down in front of the television or listen to the game on the radio, or when he pulled up at the stadium. You know, he had a chance to go all the way in to the arena, but he would always stop on the outside, get out of his car and wave to the fans. He had an obligation to all those individuals. He goes, they're giving me something so valuable. They're giving me their time. They could be doing so many other things. They are giving me my time. They're giving me their time. So I have to produce at the highest level. All those individuals, I'm not just playing for the organization. I'm playing for all those individuals. And I've taken that same mentality out when I'm doing a speech on the stage, when I'm talking to individuals. It's my obligation is not only to myself, it's to all those individuals that are going to take time to be part of this conference, to spend their hard-earned money, to show them, to deliver more than what they're expecting.
That's awesome, and that's so important. Which kind of brings me to another question, because I've watched obviously your level of dedication to what you do, whether it's been training the best athletes in the world or on stage speaking to millions of people and writing your book. The amount of time that you've taken to do what you do and how you do it is extremely impressive. And I noticed something in an interview you did with someone else where you said you've written back, you've wrote checks back to clients just as much as you've received them because they don't perform or they're not actually delivering that. Can you talk about that? Like, for example, some of the instances where you've had to hold people accountable that have retained you and you said, all right, look, it's not going to work, and what that actually looks like, so they know it's not a gimmick, they understand the actual dedication required to it.
Oh no, it's just, people come up to me all the time and say, man, I'll give anything to work with you. I said, okay, well, welcome to anything. All right, welcome to anything. And this is the price of anything. Here it is. And they're like, yeah, this sounds good. Yeah, I'm willing to do this. I do that. I give an example. So I always tell people with the first training session, when I sit down with an individual, all right, I tell them after we talk to them and so forth, I always tell them I'll see you at 3:30. All right.
To my same day or in the morning tomorrow?
Yeah, majority of those people. So I show up at the facility at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'm sitting there. I wait. Nobody shows up. All right. The new client ends up rolling in about, facility about maybe 2:45, 3 o'clock. They get dressed and they get ready for the workout, and I'll be telling them, what are you doing? They said, you said to be here at 3:30. And I said, yes, I did tell you to be here at 3:30. And I said, what have you been doing all day? Oh, and they give me the list of all those stuff. I said, that's enough. I've already heard it. Here's your money back. Because that's not anything. All the other stuff that you had was way more important. When you listed all those things to me that you did in the morning to get to 3 o'clock to the things, those are your anythings.
Wow.
My definition of anything is completely different. Completely different. I turn away more business than I accept.
That's crazy.
That's incredible. But the standard is there, and I totally understand where you're coming from. And more importantly, I think people have to realize really the dedication, required for that. So that's it's funny because I'm sure, like, even as I read it, I'm like, man, what would I do to have Tim be able to train me one day? I said, well, why don't I wake up in the morning myself and start handling it on my own before I ask Tim, one of the best guys in the world, about this? Because I got to have my own level of dedication, not just actually look for someone else to push it, which is, it sounds like that's what you're looking for.
Exactly. I can't want it more than you.
Yeah.
I can't want it more than you. And that's one of the things, the biggest message, to come out of this conference that you guys have put together is, yeah, you have a great lineup of individuals. You have different individuals speaking on different topics and so forth. But what is your purpose of being there? What is your actually purpose? Are you there to party? Are you there to have a good time? Are you there to learn? What's number one? And I'm not telling you you can't do all those. You can do all those things. You can still have a good time. You can still learn. You can still have some fun in there. But is it taking to the point where you're like, when a speaker is speaking and you had such a nice time the night before that you're literally falling asleep and you're missing the message. You'd be like, oh, well, what? I didn't hear that part. I didn't hear what that person said. Well, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you. And that's what you said, earlier about, friends and allies. Your allies are going to tell you, hey, listen, I'm going to bed. Because you know why? Hey, I really want to pay attention to who's ever speaking the next day, or whatever's going on. That's why I'm here. And if I do that, guess what? The parties and celebrations that I'll be able to do next year and the following year and 5 years from now will be much bigger than the ones I can do now.
So you don't just train athletes, you train people and business professionals.
Yeah.
What's some of the traits that you see maybe that more people in business need to adapt from an athlete, or vice versa?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I break it up this way. That you have to have talent. All right. You have to be intelligent. And this is in business, because listen, when you're in business, you may not be physically doing the same things as a professional athlete, but you're competing at a very, very high level. Because if you're not competing at a very high level, you're going to be out of business. You're going to be out of business, or you're going to be short of business. One of the two. All right. So if you want to take what the individuals had, I've had so many athletes that have talent, all right, but they didn't have the intelligence. There's a huge difference between talent and intelligence. All right, talent, you can be athletically gifted, but talent means being able to understand what's going on, be able to survey the land, being able to survey the basketball court, be able to look into business 5 years down the line, not only the next day, but the next week, what's going on. And you got to be really competitive. You have to be competitive. All right.
Awesome.
Everyone knows how to compete, but very few people know how to win. All right. And that's what separates those individuals. All right. You can have talent, you can have intelligence, you can be competitive. Do you know how to win?
And I think winning's in different ways for everybody, right? So in your terms, you have closer, cleaner, right? Cooler, like you don't.
Yeah.
I think like the lower level people, or the coolers and the closers, always try to be the cleaner, and that's just not them.
Yeah, your definition of winning, it's like I said earlier, it depends. You define what your definition of winning. There might be some people that say, hey, listen, you know what? They don't want to have a business your size. They don't want to be the largest. All right. But their definition of winning is, listen, I want to be able to pay my rent or mortgage. I want to be able to pay my car note. I want to spend time with my friends. I want to be able to play in this softball league every Sunday. To me, that's their win. That's their win. Or they could be other individuals say, you know what? Yeah, I make a little bit of money here, but my wins is the charitable organizations that I'm involved with. Or it's an individual that say, hey, my wins are it is the shiny things, it is the car, it is the money, it is the designer suits, it is the shoes, right? But you have to decide what your definition of winning is, and that's why it's so important when you go into this conference to say, hey, listen, understand that this isn't all about financial gain and financial success. If that's what it means to, if that's what winning means to you, then that's what it is. It could be an individual that just wants to be able to create more happiness for themselves and their significant other, be able to manage individuals, their employees better. And so when you talk about different levels, when we talk about it Relentless, about, coolers, closers, and cleaners, you can have an individual who could be a cooler in sales. They do the bare minimum. All right. Now that doesn't mean they're not a cleaner in something else. Doesn't mean they excelling in something else. And you can have an individual who could be your top salesperson. All right. They're a cleaner in their sales, but their personal life is off.
Yeah.
No. So you have to decide on what that definition is.
Awesome. And that's so true, because winning really means a lot to you as the individual. So if you don't know what that definition is, you'll never win anyway.
Yeah.
You're never going to win.
Yeah. So Tim, in conclusion, I just wanted to ask you a question. So September 14th, we're super pumped to have you there. Very excited. What can the attendees expect to hear from you when you come on stage?
The unexpected.
I love it. I'll leave
it at that. You know what you'll get from me? You won't hear the same cliches over and over again. You won't hear, this thing, all this other stuff. You will hear the truth. All right. It will be something that will hit you really, really hard. All right. I'm not a rah-rah guy. I'm not an individual. I'm not one of those persons that's going to be telling everybody to high five and give each other hugs and all that other stuff. Winning is earned.
That's right.
I'm going to give you the mindset to win.
Love it.
I love it. So there you have it. For all of you watching out there, September 14th, Tim Grover is coming live and in person. If you haven't gotten your tickets already, visit Entrepreneurconference.live. Tim Grover, thank you so much. We really look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. And until then, we're going to keep winning over here. And
all right, guys. I'm looking forward to this.
Tim, thank you.
Take care. Keep winning, guys. Keep winning.
We
Absolutely.
will. Thank you.